Whew, y'all. This episode was the episode because I watched it last night, but rewatching it again just now, I got that anxiety all over again. What is it about episode threes with Traitors that they just give. They just like it's so much that happened in this. Look at all these notes, y'all. That's why this is so long. It's so late. Cause last night I watched it. It took me forever to get these notes done. But look, that is why this is late. Because I just finished it now. I had to keep rewinding so much. There was so much happening, which is what I love about this show. It's always something. And if you're new here, you don't know I'm all about details when it comes to my recaps. Like my recaps be so detail oriented. With Traitors, it's just so much going on. There's so much good shit that you got to talk about. It's the little things you got to talk about. But that's what I got here. I got all the energy for you. Let's go. If y'all are new here, please hit subscribe. Do it right now. Do it right now. Also, go rewatch the first two recaps if you have not already. Please do that. And as you're doing it, thumbs up the video. Do that. It's free. Thumbs up and get in them comments. Let me know what y'all thinking. As you watch, drop it down below. You got a thought? Drop it down below because the engagement helps so much with pushing the video out, which brings more people to us so we can have more conversations down there in the chat. But let's go. We are on the last episode. We will finally be caught up. And in the rest of the season, we get one episode a week. Y'all get it every Thursday. We'll be able to talk about it as it happened. So, let's go. Alright, so we get back from the cliffhanger, which was when Rob had joined the Traitors. And Bob the Drag Queen was not expecting Rob to be a traitor. I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't have, because he screams traitor. But Danny is sitting there asking him if he knew they were the traitors, and he said no. Like, he didn't suspect any of them. I don't know why he didn't suspect Danny. Danielle and Rob were the two I knew were going to be traitors. Like, if you didn't watch my cast analysis, I literally said these two. I said it's either going to be them two together or one or the other. Because you got to have gamers, like true gamers, at least one of them as a traitor. And when you think about true gamers on this season, Danielle, Rob, Jeremy, Tony, Derek, Wes, one of them six had to have been a traitor. But we got two of them. Bob the Drag Queen is delivering. Carolyn is delivering. We got good traitors because you got two gamers. Bob is just pure entertainment. Carolyn also is entertainment, but she's shocking because you don't expect her to be one of the ones with the actual true logical strategy going on. The things that she's thinking is the way you should play the game. I just wish she had some oomph to like really tell them like, no, listen to what the fuck I'm saying. Like, this is what needs to happen because the shit that she's saying is true. That's the way they should be moving. But Danielle was like, he said that he didn't think it was them. But Carolyn, she don't trust Rob, as you shouldn't. Don't trust him. But Danielle says like she's glad to have him. She's saying this in real time. I'm glad to have you on my team. Lying. Danielle saying in her confessionals, I ain't want him to be here, like, but it's better to have him on your side than against you. That is true, though. But I told y'all, she wanted him up out of there the minute he came in there. But Rob, he's not too thrilled because all of their personalities are different. He's not lying. Like, Danielle is very headstrong. Bob is very headstrong. Carolyn, on paper, is very, very sporadic. Even though he don't realize she got a lot of logic that could work in his favor. But you got Danielle and Rob and Bob that are super, super gung-ho on what they want, which we'll later find out in a minute. But Danny ends up saying that Dylan has a shield. They start strategizing at this point. She says Dylan has a shield because Derek had told me. Rob ends up telling them that he gave his to Tony, and he also says that he thinks that Jeremy has a shield as well. All of that is true. They start eliminating those three as options because they're protected. And Bob the Drag Queen, which I'm going to start calling the Queen because you got Bob the Queen and you got Bob Harper. And Bob Harper will be Harper until one of them goes home. But the Queen says that they should murder Dolores or Tom because it eliminates Robyn and alienates Ayan. I'm like, that's stupid. Why are we still trying to hyperfixate on the Housewives? And like Movie Bay said, if y'all have not watched Movie Bay's review 1 through 3, go watch it. Go watch it. Like, she is literally in the comments. So go click on hers and go watch it. Subscribe if you haven't already. But like she said, like, Phaedra done fucked it up for the Housewives. Like, Phaedra playing such a flawless game got them scared shitless of these Housewives. But he says if Dolores goes home, Robyn is pretty much dead in the water. Like, they're going to be looking at Robyn like, damn, you out here killing off your own people. But they start talking about Chanel Ayan as an option, and Danielle said, like, who would kill her? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Who would kill her? But, like, she ain't no threat. Like I told y'all last night, she would be the one that I would think would go all the way, because why would you want to get her out? Because she's not going to figure anything out. Like, that's the easy one. Pull her in as a number. Like, pull her in as somebody that you know would not say your name and would back you up when it comes to back. Y'all saw how she acted when Wells got sent home. I would have pulled her in and been like, look, I need you to have my back regardless. But Carolyn ends up saying that she want to create chaos. And Bob the Drag Queen says, yeah, because it would cause confusion. And Rob says you can't keep beating a dead horse, like killing the housewives off. And Danny and Carolyn agree. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, lay off. It's gonna look too obvious. But they don't want to kill a housewife. Those three don't. The queen ends up saying, like, it's flawless, and I'm not hearing no for answers. Very, very headstrong. Bob the Drag Queen is very, very headstrong. And it's a double-edged sword. Being so headstrong could work to his advantage, but also could be his crutch, which we'll see later on, but we'll get to it. But Rob, he wants them to let him direct the murder, which I think is smart. Out of all four, and I love me some Danny down. Like, y'all know I love her. The way she plays Big Brother, chef's kiss. But right now, she's playing sloppy. She is playing sloppy, and I cannot believe it. But the two out of the traitors that are playing so far, well, Rob started to look stupid later on, but Carolyn's the best one right now. She's playing the most clean game, if you asking me. But if I'm going to have anybody steer, considering these conversations, it would be Carolyn and Rob. But Carolyn don't have a voice, and Rob is just now trying to figure out how to get a voice within these people. But Rob says that he wants them to direct the murder. They end up moving to Tom now as an option. And Danielle says, like, if we get him out, Chrishell will look like the traitor. And Carolyn ends up saying that Britney also should be an option too. And Danny's like, hell no. Because they're going to end up pinning that on me because they already know what the history is. So it's a no for me. Carolyn tries to negotiate. She ain't really doing too much because Danielle keeps shutting her shit down. Like, no, it's not going to happen. But Rob ends up saying, let's run it back instead of arguing. Let's be productive. He says, do we want to create chaos or do we want to have a united front? They finally make their decision. We'll see at breakfast. Breakfast time, the first three that walk in are the three that were safe, which was Rob, Wes, and Derek. Rob ends up asking, like, how should we navigate the way that we are throughout the day? Because if we avoid each other, it'll look bad. Because, like, essentially, we're new, and obviously the newer people are probably going to be around each other more because you really don't know the rest of them. And they pretty much agree to that. Derek says that he wants to work with them, but he knows one of them is more than likely a traitor, so he's going to try and get their guard down to take notes. Smart. Because I would have thought the same thing too. You can't just bring three people in and then think one of them is not a traitor, right? Like, that's pointless. Like, bring one of them in where most people probably aren't suspecting one of them to be a traitor, but I would immediately be thinking, yeah, one of these is probably a traitor. And them being the three that they are, being gamers like that, yeah, one of them, probably two of them. That's what I would be thinking. But Danielle, Nikki, Dylan, and Sam, they come in next. And Danielle, this is where she started playing sloppy. I'm like, Danielle, shut up. She's saying that she's afraid of being murdered. Starts talking about, I'm shaking real bad. Like, you can see this, Wes. You can see I'm shaking. I'm like, Danielle, this is horrible acting. And Rob picked up on it too. But Nikki ends up asking, like, what are y'all's biggest takeaways from the round table? And they say it was all over the place, essentially. But Gabby, Ivar, Tony, and Robyn come in next. And Tony's like, I slept like a baby last night. I had Rob's shield. And now I feel like I'm indebted to him. This was foreshadowed for the rest of the episode. I knew it immediately. But Tony then asked the three, talking about Derek, Rob, and Wes, that if they can tell out if they've given the shields out. And Derek says, yeah, we could. And Gabby finishes his sentence saying, but we not. Pretty much saying, like, no, I could tell you, but I'm not going to do it. They all start laughing. Derek ends up asking who they think is coming in. And here go Danielle, still talking. I said, Danielle, shut up. Shut up. But she says she thinks somebody's going to take Britney out to blame it on her. I'm like, Danielle, shut up. Because you looking crazy. Like, what's the purpose in this? But she said based on the drag queen, Bob the drag queen, speaking up so much, she knows that she's like, I know he's a faithful, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if they kill him. Why are you talking about the people that you're supposed to be working with? Why? Like, it's stupid. But he was me. Rob was looking at her like, Danielle, you putting a target on your back. Like, what you saying And how you saying it and who you saying it to, it's making you look like a target. I say, yeah, she's talking too much, more than she needs to be doing. And it's kind of like setting traps for yourself, because the more you talk, somebody's smart. And I feel like she low-key underestimating them. Somebody like Dylan, who we find out Dylan's pretty whipped. Like, he got it going on. Somebody like him, somebody like me, I'm very observant. Like, I'm very observant. I'm going to give y'all, I'm about to go on a tangent real quick. But me, in general, when I meet new people, like I tell y'all, I'm an introverted extrovert. More so the introverted part. I get on here and talk to y'all. That's the extrovert coming out of me. But on most cases, I'm an introvert. If I don't feel naturally comfortable with you when I first meet you, you're not going to get this. I'm going to be kind of subdued. I'm going to be a little bit more quiet. I'm going to be a little bit more short with you. That's how I am. Like, when I'm at work and stuff, when I start a new job, I don't really talk to nobody for 2 weeks. I give you, like, the basic answers and stuff. But you don't really get me until I've felt you out. Like, I put people on a 2-week trial period where I get to know you, see what you are, I pay attention to everything you do. That would have been me in this game. Like what Movie Base said in hers. Me and her need to do it. But me playing this game, I would be perfect, because either I don't think people would be suspicious of me. But I'm naturally quiet too, though, so you wouldn't really be suspicious. Regardless, I'm going to be paying attention, and I would be able to pick these people out. But Danielle, she is talking about how Bob the Drag Queen has been very vocal. She's still on this tip. I'm like, girl, shut up. She's talking about how he's been very vocal about who the traitor is. I'm about to bite my lip. She ends up then starts to talk about the croissant. That when she said that, give me that chocolate croissant. That shit look good. I started laughing because that's some shit I would have did. I'm worried about the food. But Harper, Chrishell, and Jeremy, they walk in next. Britney, Ciara, and Carolyn following after them. They then realize Dolores isn't here. Harper is worried about that too, because that's another housewife. But Dolores, Bob the Drag Queen, Chanel Ayan, and Tom Sandoval, they are the last ones left. So they know it's one of them that is getting murdered. Tony does not want it to be Chanel Ayan because she put his name down. And if she's the one that's gone, they're going to be looking at him. That's exactly what happened. But not. And in walks Dolores, Bob the Drag Queen, and Tom Sandoval. They done murdered Chanel Ayan. I'm like, that is so dumb. But Dolores and Robyn, they pissed. Because it's two housewives that are, like, y'all are literally targeting the housewives at this point. It's making it look like, damn, like, what the fuck? But they flashed back to the moment when it happened. And, of course, Bob the Drag Queen was pressing that issue. Pressing it, saying we need to create more chaos. And all three of them folded. And they decided to go ahead and murder Chanel. But Chanel, she's reading her murder note. She's sad. She's mad. She starts crying. But in Chanel Ayan fashion, she says, I wish I would have known I was getting murdered because I would have worn something better. But Ivar, he is saying, like, why would anybody take her out? Gabby's like, yeah, because she ain't a threat. I'm like, why? Yeah, exactly. Like, why would y'all take her out? But Alan comes in to confirm her murder. Lets the three know, Derek, Rob, and West. I can't keep remembering. For some reason, I cannot remember these names. But Derek, Rob, and West, those three, they're no longer protected. AKA the Shields. Y'all on equal playing field with everybody else now. But they have their third mission tonight, and he goes on off. Carolyn, she did not want to murder Chanel Ayan. I'm like, you should have said something. You should have stood on it. She said nobody was listening to me. I said, stand in your convictions. You got to get a voice. Like, if you want something to happen, make it happen. Me, that's the debate team and me. I'm going to always find a way to argue my point. If you don't hear it, you going to hear it. Because I'm going to make sure you hear it. But they disperse. Carolyn, she asked to talk to Gabby and Nikki. And she ends up telling them, like, this is a lot. Like, I'm trying to be normal, but it's just a lot. But they tell her, like, we have your back. Jeremy comes in as well and tells Carolyn to come sit down and talk to him. Gabby, Nikki, and Harper go walking off. And they sitting there talking shit about Carolyn. Saying she confused, she's batshit crazy. I said, not too much. Not too much. Like, don't do too much on Carolyn. I love Carolyn. I don't know why, but I love her. But Carolyn, she ends up telling Jeremy that she just heard them calling her a hot mess, which that made me sad watching it because you could tell she was bothered by it. But don't worry about them, man. Fuck it. Like, be a hot mess and own that you a hot mess. But he's sitting there telling her, like, who cares what they say? Like, we got you. I got you. Exactly. But she ends up saying, like, it's just hard for me to accept that. And he's pretty much reassuring her, like, you good. Like, don't worry about it. But he then proceeds to tell her, I'm going to just say this, you should watch Danielle. I said, oh, fuck. Not my two. Like, Danielle is my number one. Jeremy's probably my number two, but number one for the men. but he would be the one to sniff her out. Like, he's one of the smarter ones. Him and Derek will probably be the two that I would think would be the one to really sniff out Danielle. And of course he did. And he got points that are very valid. He says, I don't know if she a traitor or not, but she been acting funny. It's true. But Carolyn ends up saying that she knows that Jeremy is smart and knows she has to be smart too, trying to figure out how she's going to pivot this. I'm like, you need to go tell Danielle. Like, you need to go tell her. But of course she didn't. But Robyn and Wes, which, I mean, I guess, because I'm sitting there saying you need to go tell her, for my own personal thing, I want Danielle to kind of get them flames. Yeah. But for Carolyn, it probably is smarter to not go tell Danielle, because if she tells Danielle and Danielle start flipping out, it's going to be like, okay, well, Carolyn, you just went and told her, and I can't trust you. But Robyn and Wes, they are talking, and they're basically telling each other, like, I'm good off of you, I'm not coming for you, I'm not coming for you. But Wes ends up asking her if someone killed Ayan to blame it on Tony. And she says she felt like he did it. She feels like Tony's the one that did it. And he says, I can get behind that thought. Nikki is over there telling Tom and Sam in the kitchen that she needs to start watching people more to kind of sniff out the traitor. Wes is now in a room with Tony. After he just finished talking to Robyn, he in a room with Tony, telling him, I think you're going to get some votes tonight. I said, shut the fuck up. But Tony ends up asking, have you heard my name? And he's like, yeah, I did. Tony said, from who? Wes said the Housewives. I said, you are messy. You just literally did that. That's Wes in Wes fashion. But Tony ends up asking if Wes thinks that he's a traitor. And Wes says, like, no, I doubt it. Like, I don't think that you are. And I'm not voting for you. And Tony is sitting there worried because he knows his survivor reputation is probably what's making people think about him in this way, which is probably true. But we get a scene where Dylan pulls Dylan, I told you, did I say that? I think I said it in one of the recaps, but Dylan very much gives me Peter vibes from last season. Like, he's on it. He's on it. He just don't have the aggression and the assertiveness that Peter had. But Dylan ends up pulling Jeremy, Rob, Nikki, Gabby, and Harper into a room and says, and Rob is in, did I say Rob? Rob is also in there. He said, I want Rob to hear this because I felt like I'm the closest in the house to figuring out who a traitor is. I said, oh shit, here we go. He ends up asking, where did the Wells shit come from last night? There were a few people that were saying Wells is a traitor, and those few people were Robyn and Bob the drag queen. I said, oh shit, that is 2 traitors already that are being, because you don't really see the traitors get sussed out like this quick. We are in episode 3 at the beginning. And Danielle and Bob the drag queen are already getting sussed out. But he says Bob threw out the name and then backed off. Like, he said only a traitor would know who a faithful is. So throwing out that name and then backing off like, I ain't do it. I don't think they're a traitor. But then try and pivot to get somebody. I said, oh, shit. Zac Efron Jr. been paying attention. Like, he been the one to clock it. But Dylan ends up saying, like, I got good intuition, which he does. And he says if I can convince people of my theories that this is what's happening, I feel like the faithfuls can win. I said, you just got to stand firm and not back down. Foreshadowing. But he ends up saying that Robyn and Bob, he can see being a traitor. And Rob ends up saying, like, Dylan's on it. He's saying this in his confessional. He on it. But he doesn't want to have to choose between a faithful and a traitor tonight. But he has to do what he has to do to protect the traitor. So he's going to hope that it all moves to Robyn. But we get the mission time. The mission, I'm not going to talk too much about it. Because there's so much going on in the episode from the meat and potatoes part that is more important. But they had a funhouse themed mission. And Alan pretty much runs them through the directions or whatever. They have four doors, and I think it was like 5 sets of doors. Or not 5 sets. There were 4 doors, but 5 options. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Y'all watched the episode. Y'all watched it. But they go in as pairs. And the objective is to get, and they have balloons, a gold balloon that's worth $2,000. The objective is to get through all the doors and finish and get through the fun house to get the money to then add to the pie. Now, if you click on the wrong door, one of them clowns is going to come out and pop your balloon, and when they pop your balloon, you're out. That's essentially what it is. So they go ahead. The first pair to finish gets 2 shields, which will protect them from murder. So nobody wants to go first. Harper says he and Dolores will go first because they have nothing to hide. And Bob the drag queen's like, why is it the same people always sacrificing themselves over and over again? And Robyn's like, I'm literally about to do this shit again because y'all just being fucking selfish. And Harper ends up telling Tony, why are you not saying something? Like, trying to force him and Nikki to stand up because Nikki is Tony's partner. And Harper's like, I'm sus of him. Like, it pissed him off that I'm calling him out, and it pissed me off. Like, and Tony was pissed. Tony's looking like, what the fuck? Like, why are you doing this? It's like you pressing me too much. But Alan ends up asking who's going to go first, and Nikki and Tony volunteer. I'm like, couldn't be me. I wish I would go first. Regardless, I'm not going to go first because, like, I'm trying to save myself. Like, at this point, I'm trying to save myself. But Nikki is frustrated because she knows, like, she in the crosshairs at this point. She's stuck with Tony right now, which then is forcing her to possibly not go in and get a shield because they're going in first, and they're pretty much having to go guess and hope the first one they pick is the right door to get through, but they still got to get through the rest of it. But what else happened? They go through, they didn't get through, they ended up describing, and you got to describe the door. That's the thing. You're describing the doors as they're going through, and there's a speaker that's catching it so everybody else can hear it, so that when they go in, they don't select the wrong door. But Tony and Nikki, they go through, they get theirs popped. Jeremy and Derek, they go in next, theirs is popped. Tony and Carolyn go in, theirs is popped. So at this point, all three doors have been tried. There's 4 doors on each row. And the last door is the last door that is the one that you obviously can go through. But Harper and Dolores, they go in, they get through the right door. But they forgot what the right door was as they were going in there. But they get through it. They then click on the wrong one. They get popped. Robyn and Britney go in. Was it Robyn and Britney? It was somebody in Britney. I think somebody in Britney. I can't remember who it was. But they chose the wrong door. They got popped. Dylan and Rob get through the first door. I'm like, of course, they would. They get to the next set. They're describing it. They get popped. Bob the Drag Queen and Gabby go in. They choose the wrong door. They get popped. Chrishell and Sam get popped. Danielle and Robyn go, and they get through 3 of them. They eventually get popped. Ivar and, that's who it was. Ivar and Britney. Who was with, I don't know why. Robyn and, I said Robyn and Britney. They weren't going in, but they were screaming no when they chose the wrong door because Harper and Dolores was choosing. They was sitting there talking about they was about to go through the wrong door and ended up getting popped, and they sitting there screaming no. But Ivar and Britney, they get popped. Wes and Ciara, they're the last ones to go. They get essentially all the way through and get popped, obviously. So no money was won, no shields were won. So it's like, damn, y'all just wasted time. Like, y'all just wasted time. But they head back home. This is where it starts getting important. This is the fun part. They get in the car. Jeremy, Nikki, Gabby, Tony, and the drag queen are in the car together. They start talking about if they feel like Harper is a traitor because he was sitting there forcing Tony and Nikki to go. Nikki by association, but really focusing on Tony. And Gabby says, I don't think he is. Jeremy says, honestly, I feel strongest about one person, and that's Danielle. Bob is in the front seat, low-key tripping out. Tripping out. But Jeremy says the first mission, she was fine to get off and get a shield. And that crying that she was doing, I didn't believe it. I said, ooh. He says, I don't want it to be her, but, like, I just can't shake it. I feel it. I said, oh, shit. Because Jeremy going to be the one. Jeremy's playing it smart, too, because he doesn't want to really accuse her until he has all of his facts together. Because he know we dealing with Danielle. Like, he ain't stupid. He got a lot of valid points to argue. But Bob Drag Queen is like, nah, I'm trying to get to the end with Danielle. Love it. That's the duo. He said, I'm trying to get to the end, and I'm not about to betray her, so I'm about to go snitch. I'm about to go tell her. But I'm like, you got to do it, because y'all got to clean up y'all's act. You and Danielle are playing so sloppy. Dylan and Jeremy are onto y'all's ass, and they got valid points to get you when they ready to get you. But back at the castle, Bob the Drag Queen immediately pulls Danielle to talk. They go into the bar area, and he's telling her that her name has been floated around a lot. He ends up telling her that Jeremy has said her name, and she's like, what? Why? And he ends up telling her, like, he doesn't believe you're crying. Like, you're doing too much, Danielle, to the point where it's not believable. But she ends up saying that she trusts Bob. They're super connected. But Jeremy has her figured out, and she don't want that faithful in the house. Pretty much saying, I don't want a faithful that is on to me in this house. So Carolyn comes in as well, and they fill her in on what they're talking about. And then Carolyn finally decides to tell Danielle, yeah, he said it to me too. And said to just watch and pay attention to her. That's all he really said. We get the girl trio, which is, what are they called? The Bambies, which is Nikki, Chrishell, and Gabby. They're over there scheming. Chrishell she's hyper fixated on Tom. Gabby says in the car ride, Tony was guilty. he was pointing the finger at Harper for some reason. She said it was no reason, but he got a reason, honestly, because Harper coming at him. Like, come on. But they named themselves the Bambis, like I just said, but they feel like Tony is suspicious. Wes and Dylan, they go join Jeremy in the kitchen, who was sitting there eating. And Jeremy ends up saying that he does not think that Robyn is a traitor. Dylan ends up asking him how he feels about Bob the drag queen. Boy, this is where it gets good right here. This is where it gets good. But because I was, oh God, watching this scene, not this particular one, but it's the one that's about to happen. I'm gonna get to it though. But it was, boy, I was like, this shit is good. This is good TV. But they're sitting there talking, and Dylan says he's split between Bob, the drag queen, and Robyn. And he says, I'm gonna bring them up, and then I'm gonna decide once I hear who I want to vote out as a traitor. And Wes said that's a rookie move, and I agreed. He said, if you're gonna take a shot, you gotta take a shot, and you better shoot. And you better not miss. That's pretty much what he's saying. Like, if you're gonna call somebody out, you need to be 100% sure, and you need to stick to it. Because if you calling out two people, you got two people against you. Because one of them might not go home. Well, two of them might not go home. But say one of them does, you still got the other one here who's gonna be coming for you. He's smart. Wes done played these games too many times. But where am I at? I just lost myself in my notes. Hold on. Gotcha. Dylan, he ends up saying that he's realizing that he got to think like a gamer. Like, I can't just be sloppy with the way I play. But Jeremy ends up saying that Dylan is looking shady, because I don't think that Bob the drag queen is a traitor. I feel like he's a faithful, and I don't want him to get blindsided. Love that he's looking out for him too. Jeremy goes into the breakfast room where Bob the drag queen and Tony are sitting there talking and eating. And he flat out goes straight up in there to Bob the drag queen and say, nigga, they getting you up out of here. I said, this is chaos time, because the way he did it, he was like, bro, like, look, they finna get you up out of here. You need to figure it out. Like, figure this shit out. And Bob the drag queen, being the entertaining person, and the over dramatic person, of course, he tripping out. And I was cracking up. I said, this shit is good. But he said, who? Jeremy said, Dylan, I'm telling you. Tony said, go talk to him. Jeremy said, no, don't do it. And I was like, this is so chaotic. But Bob the drag queen said, if he is fucking with me, he gonna tuck his tail and be ready to speak out loud the next time. It started storming off. I started dying. But he's storming out. Tony saying to Jeremy, bro, what is you doing? Like, what are you doing? Jeremy said, I just don't trust them. I don't trust Dylan. I don't trust Danielle. They all out here trying to get people out. I said, it's chaos going on. The music that they was playing too, I said, this is good TV. This is why they won an Emmy. Like, this shit is too good. I be glued. But Bob the drag queen is storming around the house. He goes into the room with Nikki and Britney, and they're like, what you mad about? Because you could tell he is frustrated. But he sits down with them. He said, I feel like people fucking with me. Like, they playing with me. Britney ends up telling him that she's heard his name from one person, and that one person is Dylan. Because he was like, who? She's like, Dylan. He tripping out. He said, if that pretty boy says something at that round table tonight, I'm going to go ham on him. He said he ain't ready for it. I died. I said, bring on this damn round table. And guess what? It's round table time. Let's go. If you got this far already and you still with me, thumbs up that video if you have not already. I'm giving y'all all this energy. I need that energy in them comments, on that subscribe button, and on that like button. Let's go. But round table time. Tony is nervous because his name has been floating around. He don't want to go home this early. Jeremy is thinking that Danielle is the traitor and don't want to miss, because if he misses, he gonna get got. Smart. He's a game player. But Rob is concerned about losing a traitor, and he knows at this point he gonna have to do some dirty work to protect them, and he's not thrilled about having to do it, but he know what he got to do. But Alan goes in, says his little spiel, lets him have the floor. It's silence again. There is tension in the air. You can cut that shit with a knife. But Dylan, he says, I can start it off this time. Bob made a face at him like, nigga, I wish you would. But he ends up saying Wells was the faithful. And we have to look at the people that were the most vocal about him being a traitor. And it was Bob the drag queen and Robyn. I said, shit, they about to chew his ass up. And Bob made a face. Robyn started doing that little smirk that she been doing. And Bob the drag queen says literally, no, let me reiterate for the people that are clearly not listening. And a lot of this I'm about to read verbatim because it was so much, it was good. He said, what I said was people are saying your name. All of y'all was sitting here saying his name. Y'all done came up to me saying it. So your base is already wrong. That's pretty much what he's saying. Dylan's trying to interject as he's talking. Tom is saying let him finish. I don't know who he was talking to because Dylan ended up finishing. I thought he might have been talking about let Bob finish, but Dylan ended up finishing. Dylan says, if you're a traitor, you know he's innocent, and you started it. You started it with Wells, and you backed off. Robyn says you barking up the wrong tree. If you're trying to paint it on us and pin it on us, you're not finding your traitor tonight. We need to focus on that. What you did was crazy because you over here after the Robyn chewed right here. I said Robyn, but she said what you did was crazy because, and I'm just so floored with Robyn because I just did not think she would be that smart to pay attention to everything that's going on because what she brought up was good. But let's get to it. I'm just so impressed with Robyn. Like, she got me rooting for her for real. But she ended up saying, what you did was crazy because after the round table, you came up to me telling me that you think Bob the drag queen is a traitor because he put Wells' name out there. Dylan made a face like, and Robyn said, don't act like that didn't happen because it did. He says, okay, yeah, like, okay. Robyn says, I think Chanel Ayan was the third person in there with us. And he says, yeah, she was. She says, oh, how convenient. She ain't even here to back up my story. I said, Robyn. I said, you better cook now. And Carolyn's face, and then Robyn started like, I got your ass. And Dylan couldn't say nothing. I'm like, Dylan, see, now that's where you fucked up. Because if you're going to come for some heavy hitters, you got to be ready to come back. You got to come back. Don't let her stump you. And that's what she did. She stumped him. But Dylan backed down. I said, wrong move. You got to keep swinging. But what else happened? Dylan ends up saying that makes it look more traitorous because Ayan agreed and she never made it back to the next breakfast. And that conversation made its way all the way to the turret. And that's what y'all was talking about. Pretty much saying like, Robyn took it to the turret and you and Bob the drag queen was talking about it and then y'all murdered her. That's pretty much what he's saying. And he stayed. I'm like, Dylan, stay on this angle. Like, you need to stay on this angle and continue to kind of like build off of it to really paint it on Bob. If you really want to get Bob out, like, because you could tell he wants Bob. You can tell he's leaning more in Bob's favor as being a traitor than he is Robyn, even though he's still suspicious of Robyn. But Bob says, how would that benefit me? Like, how does that make sense? Like, if one person can make a puzzle, I always say this, if one person can make a puzzle, someone else can figure it out. So solve it. He says, you sitting here throwing all these pieces at us, wanting us to figure it out so that you can sit back and then claim ownership of it once we figure it out. They were sitting there tag teaming him. I was like, damn, Dylan, they was letting him just have it. And he backed down at that point. I said, you need to keep swinging. But Gabby says, I'm energetic. She says, I don't believe Bob the drag queen is a traitor. Of course, Bob's sitting there like, exactly, like what? And she says he's a good faithful because he's open to all theories. And she says, this brings me to my next point, Tony. I said, oh shit, not Tony. She says that his name's been thrown around. He threw Chrishell's name out, which was random. It made no sense. And then he says you threw out Harper's name today. Ciara is like, why do you feel like he's a traitor? Talking about Harper to Tony. And he says he jumped off the boat right away, which was suspicious to me. He didn't do that, Tony. That's where you fucked up. Because he definitely didn't jump off right away. If I'm thinking he's talking about the first mission, the first two to jump off was Dorinda and Dolores, right? Was it Dorinda? No, it was Chanel Ayan and Robyn. And then it was Dorinda and Dolores. So I'm like, what are you talking about? But Harper ends up saying, no, I was the fourth to jump off the boat. And Tony is still talking as he's doing this. He's like, excuse me. And he says, I didn't want to sacrifice myself, but you were too quick. And as of today at the mission, that was another red flag. And that's why I pieced you together. That's Tony talking to Harper. Harper ends up asking to speak. And he says, when I first met you, talking about Tony, when I first met you, I told you that I've seen what you can do, aka Survivor. And says the past couple of days you've been super quiet, you pulled back, and that just brought up all these red flags that are making me lean towards you being a traitor. Tony ends up asking him, do you think I'm a traitor? Harper says yes. Tony says, did you just make that up today because I said you were today? Harper says, I don't think like that. Tony says, so when did you start thinking it? He said, I've been suspicious of you from the beginning, like I have with many other people. Tony says, again, when did you think I was a traitor? Harper says, right now. I said... And Tony was like, I said, Tony, don't just stop. Like, you got to keep going. But Jeremy starts talking. The face Danielle looked was the same thing. She looked at him like, nigga, I wish you would open your mouth and put my name out here on this play. Because I'm going to slap you. That's what she was looking like. But Jeremy says, I played with Tony. He's crushed my dreams of winning. I have every right to say, get this nigga up out of here. That's pretty much what he's saying. But he says, I don't believe he's a traitor. Robyn says, my thought process is when Robyn been thinking, boy, she been making sense. She said when Alan picks the traitors, he picks someone that he thinks can handle the job as a traitor, which is true. Like, that is true. But she says, I feel like she feels Tony is one of those people. I said, that's a good point. And she says, he wanted to start off strong with the traitors and have a strong traitor. Dylan says, but all those points work for Bob the Drag Queen. I said, exactly. You got to stay on him. You got to stay on him, Dylan. But Bob says, get off my back. I was laughing. And Dylan says, it's true, though. Like, you command the room. Like, you're an amazing actor. That is true. That is true. But Bob the Drag Queen says, because you think I'm good at it, that makes me a traitor. Like, that's what you thinking. Like, now you can read Alan's mind. He said, that's literally what Dylan said. That's literally what Robyn just said about Tony. I said, Dylan, he trying to figure out a way to get with him. But Bob the Drag Queen says, I've been quiet for 10 minutes, and that is hard for me. He said, I don't even think you're a traitor, but you're misguided. And that should be your drag queen, misguided. And Robyn's sitting there laughing. I was laughing. But Boston Rob, ends up talking and says, the thing is, that's a little weird to me, is that I gave my shield to Tony. So he just exposed to everybody that didn't already know that he gave his shield to Tony. He said, because he is one of the two people in here that I knew in the game, and I felt like Tony needed some safety. And since then, he has said nothing to me, and that's suspicious. I said, I don't like this. But Tony ends up asking, do you think I'm a traitor? Rob says, I don't think you are. Tony said exactly what I was thinking. Why would you say it then? Because you look like you playing a game, Rob, and everybody knows that you are a gamer. So if he did that, I'd have been looking at Rob funny, because I'm like, you ain't just going to say something for no reason. And if you say that you throwing him out here and you don't feel like he's a traitor, I'm going to be like, okay, so you probably are a traitor and you're trying to throw a decoy. And I'm like, the one person I think that would be able to catch up on that is Derek. He caught on, of course. But Tony ends up saying, y'all really think I'm a traitor? And Rob says, like, I didn't, but I don't know. It's time to vote. Jeremy starts it off. He burned votes on Tom because he doesn't think Tony is a traitor. Derek votes for Tony. Tom votes for Tony. Chrishell votes for Tony. Tony votes for Harper because he thinks he's a traitor. And he says, I'm voting you as a traitor because I think you're a traitor. I'm not going to put your name down here if I don't think you're a traitor. Exactly. But Bob the Drag Queen votes for Ivar, which I thought was stupid. I said, that's not smart, because now you got him on your ass too. And Dylan's face was mine. I'm like, what? What? And then Bob the Drag Queen says, like, I didn't get to advocate for it, which is like, I'm like, why would you put him down now, though? Because you didn't get to advocate for it. And if you didn't get to advocate for it, you putting his name down there with no backup. Like, you haven't really talked to anybody about it to even get them to even believe what you're thinking. So you just throwing his name out there for no reason. But he says, like, I didn't get to advocate for it, but he's either a quiet killer or a nonchalant faithful. But both of those need to go. Robyn voted for Tony. Britney voted for Tony. Ciara voted for Tony. Dylan voted for Bob the Drag Queen. Obviously, he said because we're all going in the wrong direction. Carolyn voted for Tony because of the evidence that was pointed at him, which is obviously her not trying to stick out a sore thumb because she is a traitor. But Wes voted for Ivar. Nikki ends up getting the deciding vote, and she votes for Tony. I said, damn, Tony. Tony done got sent home this early. I was not suspecting it. But Tony is banished. Sam ended up voting for Tony. Ivar ended up voting for Robyn. Who else? Rob voted for Tony and said that he just felt like he can't trust him. Harper, Dolores, Danielle, and Gabby all voted for Tony. So it was damn near unanimous, if you want to call it that. But he looked so sad because, you know, Tony wanted to play the game. And I feel bad for him. But like I said, because I didn't think he would get sent home this early. And I would have loved to see him play a little bit more. But he goes up there and reveals that he's a faithful. His voice is shaking. Like what Movie Base said in hers. I hope they bring him back for another season so he can actually really play and make him be a traitor. So he can actually really play. But he told Rob as he was walking out crying. I don't want to say he was crying, but his voice was definitely choked up. And he called Rob a sellout. I started laughing and he walked out. Jeremy's sitting there looking disappointed. Derek's sitting there looking at Rob. Like, them antennas went up. Derek might be the one to get robbed. But now they feel stupid. Rob is sitting there saying, I don't know why he calling me a sellout, because when I gave him a shield, it was because I thought that he could use it, but he didn't give me a conversation. I felt like he was being deceptive towards me. But they get up and they disperse. Dylan's telling Robyn a lot of the things that she said about Tony were true, Bob the drag queen comes up and was talking to them too, saying like, I'm not a traitor. I am a light. You probably ain't used to people like me, but I do want you to stop saying my name. And Dylan's like, you literally are convincing me right now that you a traitor even more, but I'm going off of everything that I have. And Bob the drag queen's like, I commend you. Like, that was bold coming from me. But Dylan, he's still convinced. He said, I'm going to step back until I got everything that I need to shoot. And I said, get to work. But Derek, Jeremy, Nikki, Britney, and Chrishell, they're in the room and they're talking about how they hated how Tony had to go out like that. Derek was like, it had to have been something a little bit deeper because he gave him that shield and I didn't know that he didn't speak to him. And Jeremy and Derek was like, they've never seen him get emotional. I ain't never seen Tony get emotional either, but when he called him a sellout. But Derek knows what Rob is capable of. He says, I got to keep an eye out on him. I said, I told y'all Derek was going to be the win. But here we go. This is where the anxiety was up, boy. The whole time. But Alan ends up letting the Traitors know that they, and this is kind of like last season's The Chalice, where they had to pretty much do something in plain sight as traitors. But they have to agree on 3 names to shortlist for murder in plain sight. So, I'm like, the anxiety's up. But they have to write 3 names down on a scroll that's in the wine cellar in the bar. And they have to do it publicly because the players will publicly be laid in their coffins later on tonight. And then the traitors will then come to put the nail in the coffin of the one that they're going to murder. So, they're trying to figure out how to get with each other without getting spotted. In plain day, in plain sight. Everybody's walking around, everybody's looking. And it's right there by the bar. So that's where everybody typically would be because that's where the drinks are. So they start migrating. To me, the traitors start looking very obvious. I was getting nervous because they're walking around looking for each other. And there's people in all these rooms together. They're talking and stuff. You got Danielle. She walking in. She said, oh, there's too many people here. You got Carolyn like creeping in there like this. I'm like, y'all look too damn obvious. But Danielle ends up finding Boston Rob and Bob the drag queen in that middle, in the little area by the stairs. She's like, come over here. I got to show y'all something real quick. So they head off in the wine cellar. Robyn is following shortly behind them, not knowing what they're doing. But I'm like, Robyn, I'd have been scooting up. I'd have been paying attention. If I see them going over, I'm going to follow y'all behind too. But she's shortly behind them. But she goes into they go inside and shut the door. But she goes inside. They're deliberating as she's pouring her wine. And Danielle's talking about Jeremy. She wants Jeremy's name down because obviously he done said her name. And they talking loud to me. It seemed like it was loud. And I'm like, Robyn, go up against that door. That's what I would have been doing. I'd have been moving hella slow. Just because you never know what's going on. You don't know what kind of conversations are going on. I'd have been trying to eavesdrop. But Bob ends up saying that Carolyn should be the one to go get in the coffin. And Danielle says she won't do it. He says she ain't got no choice. Because if we say she gonna go in, she's in. I said, he ain't lying because she don't really stand up for herself. I'm like, out of the 4 of them, she's the one that would fold most times. But I said, it's stupid though. But Carolyn's walking around looking for them. Everybody's watching her. She's going from room to room. Robyn and Britney looking at her like she crazy. But Rob ends up telling them that he does not want a traitor to be one of the 3. And I'm like, that's smart. Because, like, people that are smart would pick that out. Like Derek, Jeremy, Wes, Dylan. They would be the ones to suspect, okay, one of these 3 is probably a traitor because they're probably putting one of the traitors in here to throw us off. Like, somebody that's smart and thinks game-wise would have realized that. And then they would have figured it out. But Rob ends up saying to nominate somebody random. Like, do that. Somebody that's not connected to somebody. I'm like, exactly. But Derek is walking around. And he looking around, walking in the bar area, looking in the cellar. The door starts opening. As they in there talking, producers had my heart going like this. My heart was in my damn throat. Because I thought Derek was walking in there. But, of course, it was Carolyn. Carolyn comes in there. She said, Jesus. Like, damn, I've been looking for y'all. Where the fuck y'all been? But Danielle said, would you go immediately? Would you go in the coffin? Carolyn looked over and said, girl, like, bitch, please. I wish I would. I died laughing. But Rob says, like, you can't, not Rob, Bob, the drag queen says, you can't die, so why not? Rob says, it's not a good idea. Like, Bob starts talking loud, too. He started talking loud. Danielle said, you talking too loud. I said, exactly. But Dylan, he's outside telling Wes and Ciara something's going on. Wes says, you overthinking it. He says, am I? I'm like, no, he ain't. Dylan, he's right. That intuition is real. And Ciara sitting there saying, like, you might be onto something, but I don't think you are. He is. But Gabby gets up to go get some water. And she's walking into the bar area, and she's kind of like creeping in there. I'm like, I don't know if they doing this for dramatic effect, But she was walking in there like she was thinking something was going on. And she walks out and she's looking in the mirror. The mirror is like outside of the bar area, but it's facing in the bar area. And it's like, you know how some mirrors can show you everything? And it's like, I'm wondering if she's sitting there looking, hoping to see if somebody comes out. But there's a cliffhanger because she goes back in there as the door is opening where Carolyn and Danielle are coming out. I don't know. I feel like she probably didn't see it because y'all know they love to fake us out like this. I feel like she didn't see him, but if she did, boy, that's going to be crazy. But I did it. 45 minutes, I did it. Like one of my commenters said, let me shout you out because recapping Traitors is a job. It's not for the faint of hearts because it's a lot. You got a lot to pay attention to. It's so much going on, especially when I'm super detail oriented. I like to see everything that's going on. But shout out to Lovely Mo 6183 because she said she was trying to do it on TikTok too. Go shout her, go follow her. But yeah, it's hard, but it's so worth it because I love talking about it. I get so much energy. But if y'all got this far, please thumbs up the video if you haven't already. Drop in the comments. Hit subscribe. We're on the road to 6K, and I will see y'all next Thursday. It will be out Thursday night. Is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. See y'all then. Peace.